Okay. And I'll put myself in the spotlight just because I like to be in the spotlight here. Hopefully you can all see me on your screen. Okay. So one of the things that I love about yoga practice is it works on all aspects of our being, not just the gross physical level, like stretching and strengthening the muscles and opening the joints. But on a more subtle level, it works obviously with the breath. That's a little working with the prana, the life force. That's a little more subtle practice. And then even more subtle, we work on the level of vibration. And using mantra is a way that we can practice with those very subtle levels of vibration that invite in a shift in our being at the molecular level. Because when we think about it, our being at the subtlest level and at the most micro level is constantly vibrating. You know, all of our atoms and molecules and particles of our atoms are constantly in motion, vibrating. And the ancient science of mantra works with that power of vibration. And when we engage in certain mantras, and especially rest our minds, as well as the actual sound of the mantra, rest our minds on the meaning of the mantra, it has a powerful, perhaps subtle yet powerful effect on us at the most ethereal level of our being. And so some of you have done this mantra with me before. It's perhaps one of the most widely chanted mantras in the world. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. You know the sound Om is the sound of the vibration of the entire universe, the wholeness, the totality. Mani means jewel, and that represents the jewel, the radiance of your own true nature. Padme refers to the lotus, and the heart, the spiritual heart, is often depicted as a lotus flower. As a matter of fact, all of the chakra points are depicted in the tantric teachings as lotuses with varying numbers of petals. So Mani Padme is the jewel in the lotus. And Hum is a vibration, seed mantra that contains within the power of awakening or enlightenment. So Om Mani Padme Hum is a mantra that invites us to, it often is translated as behold the jewel in the lotus. The jewel being the magnificence of your own true nature, and the lotus being the lotus of your spiritual heart. And as we open the petals of the lotus, we open the petals of the lotus through our own spiritual practice, whether it's asana practice, yoga postures, or meditation or prayer, whatever it is, that's what's opening the lotus. And inside, it reveals that jewel of who we truly are. This mantra is also connected with the energy of compassion. Because that's part of our true nature, is it reveals the loving and compassionate being that we are. It's also a mantra of purification, purifying, eradicating negative mind states such as fear and greed and any states of mind that block us from remembering that true nature, and allows us to help to see and remember the magnificence of who we truly are, the true self. So let's bring the hands into the lotus bud mudra. And that's like prayer position, only you're going to create a little space between the palms of the hands. And the fingertips stay joined, the thumbs stay joined, the heel of the hand stays joined, but there's that space of possibility. As in any bud in a flower, we are trusting in the possibility of its unfolding. And this mudra invites us to trust in the possibility of our own awakening to who we truly are. Trust that even though you can't see the jewel yet, that you trust it's there. And you're gently inviting it to unfold. And find some deep, long, slow breaths here. That with presence and mindful breathing, you are actually watering this flower to invite the opening of the petals. Om Mani Padme Hum. Behold the jewel in the lotus. And then letting the 3 middle fingers open, keeping the thumbs and the pinkies connected. Feel the blossoming open of the lotus flower coming into the full lotus mudra. And you can perhaps look down and visualize that radiance that is your true self. And through our breath and through our mindfulness, through our prayers, however we practice those, we are polishing that jewel. Opening the lotus of the heart, the spiritual heart. And then letting that mudra rise up. You can bring your elbows together, your forearms and elbows together. So it's kind of like gives you a little stretch in the upper arms and upper back. And let that lotus flower rise up. Lotus grows up out of the muck and the mud at the bottom of the pond. And that muck represents our forgetting who we are, our negative mind states that arise out of that forgetting. To the crown of the head, which is also seen as a lotus, a 1,000-petaled lotus. The crown of the head is the point that reminds us of our connection with the infinite, our doorway that opens to God, or a sense of divinity. And then letting those 1,000 petals open as wide as the world so that we share our magnificence with all beings everywhere. So that's kind of a gesture of compassion. Heart as wide as the world, and then bring the hands back to that lotus bud mudra. So we're going to take it into a flow, taking a little bow to honor that potentiality within yourself, even though you might not be able to see the jewel yet. And then opening the petals of the lotus, coming into the full lotus flower. See the jewel. Let it rise up out of the muck of our forgetting and our ignorance and our illusion, and open the 1,000 petals at the crown of the head as wide as the world, coming back. And we're going to put that together with the mantra. I'm going to give you a little bit of a... All right, let's do it together. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Open. Om Mani Padme Hum. Rise up. Om Mani Padme Hum. Open as wide as the world. Mani Padme Hum. Bow. Om Mani Padme Hum. Open. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Bow to the potentiality within yourself. Let it open. See the jewel. Let it rise up out of the muck and open as wide as the world. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 In silence now, just on the breath. Let it be a body prayer. Let your breath deepen as you do this. Exhale, bowing. Inhale, open. One time together with the mantras. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. And just pause and notice how you feel. Behold the jewel that is in the lotus. And then from here, bring your hands down to your thighs. Place your hands either on your thighs or your knees. And we'll take a nice deep breath in as we find the cat-cow movements of the spine. Spread the heart open, draw the shoulders back and down, come forward onto your sitting bones. Exhale, roll back onto the back edge of your sitting bones, chin to chest. Shoulders come forward. So finding those spinal waves, undulating forward and back, rocking forward and back on the sit bones like the blades of a rocking chair with breath. Finding that ujjayi breath in and out through the nose. See if you can find your fullest expression of this back extension and spreading of the heart. Exhaling, folding chin to chest. Create a little more space between the shoulder blades on that exhale. A few more of those. Lots of breath here, slow and deep. Let the breath move the body. And then come to, after the next exhale, come to upright position, centered on your sit bones, long spine. Let the arms reach and rise. Reach through the right, reach through the left, take it into a twist to your right. Exhale completely. Just going to flow side to side with breath. Inhale, up, center, exhale. Other side. Inhale up to center. Just syncing up your movement with your breath. You don't need to go into the most deep twist here. Just opening up with the spinal rotation with every exhale, coming back to center with every inhale. You don't need to follow me exactly. Follow the length of your own breath. So it's not a Simon Says practice, but more of listening to your own syncing up of breath and movement and attention. One more each side. Palms come together, back to the heart, find that lotus bud. And then let the left arm rise, right hand, just support yourself on the chair, find length and space through the left side body, take it into a side bend. Reach long and away. Take a deep breath in, send the breath into the left side of your torso, between the ribs, and exhale, release. Notice the difference between one side and the other. Notice where the prana is flowing. Other side, reach up first, find length and space, unshrug your shoulder, and take it into a side bend. Reach long and away. Exhale, release. And roll the shoulders one way. Roll them the other way. I'm going to take it into Yoga Mudra, clasping your hands behind you. I'll turn sideways so you can see. If you need to use your strap, take a little space between the fists with your strap. So do that until you can comfortably straighten your arms And let that lotus of the heart blossom open. See if you can visualize that radiant light shining forth in all directions. Deep breath in as the shoulder blades come toward one another like they want to kiss. And then if it feels good, you can fold over your thighs, letting the hands rise a little more, let the head hang down. Hands reach up and overhead as far as you can get them, and then release the hands. Let them just hang down. If it feels more comfortable for you to support yourself on your thighs, you can do that. Just find some movement of the head here. Letting the arms release. Letting the torso fold over the thighs. And of course, if that feels like too deep a fold for you, you can always take a pillow or folded blanket between your belly and your thighs. And that might feel a little bit better on the low back. And then placing the hands on the thighs, slowly rolling up. Shoulders back and down, heart shines open, palms turn up on the lap. Pause and notice how you feel. I'm going to invite you to take your strap now. We'll do some sequence with the strap, opening up through the shoulders, chest, and upper back. So let the strap be just wide enough that you can reach it up and back behind you, pulling the strap taut, knuckles reaching back without being so wide that you can go all the way around. So go up to the place where you feel some resistance, but you can still lift your hands high overhead. For some of you, if you have shoulder issues, maybe you won't be able to lift it that high. But see if you can play with, and that's fine, but see if you can play with just the right length of strap, nice and taut, so that you can come up and reach back and feel the expansion in the underarms. Feel the shoulder blades drawing toward one another and down the back body. You don't want to have any shrugging of the shoulders, so let the shoulders melt away from the ears. Press up with the fist, draw down with the shoulders, long in the spine, reaching back, big breath in. Through the nose. Exhale through the nose, float the hands down, keeping the strap taut. Let the strap come down to the thighs. And again, lift up, sync it up with your breath, opening and floating down. A few more of those at your own pace. What I want to invite you to notice is what happens energetically when you open through the chest, open through that heart center. Invite some expansion there, because there's so much energetic and physical armoring around the heart. And sometimes we just need to open the physical body first in order to feel the energetic and mental levels of opening the heart. Open wide. One more time. Press the knuckles up. Hold. Pause here. And float the arms down. Take a moment to shake them out. And then let the strap come long enough so that you can have one arm straight up and one arm out to the side. The arm that's pointing straight up, the upper arm is in line with your ear, but unshrug the shoulders. You're finding that L-shaped 90-degree angle. Pull the strap nice and snug and reach up with the upper hand, out with the hand going out to the side, and reach back with the backs of your hands, expanding through the chest. Big breath in. And exhale. Hold the strap taut, just bring it down in front, and then find it on the other side, reaching up and out, and then back behind you, expanding through the chest. Just feel how this open and expanded chest is like saying yes with your body. Big breath. And release. And shake it out. And now we'll do that break on through to the other side. Make sure you're forward enough on your chair that you have room to do this. And experiment with the length of the strap that's long enough that you feel a little resistance. If it's too long, it's not going to be, there's not going to be much of a stretch there. You want to find the place where you feel some kind of obstacle there, some kind of need to, some kind of resistance, and a need to break through whatever that obstacle is for you. And then find the strap long enough that you can slowly roll open the whole shoulder, bringing the strap down to the low back. And then other side. You want to try to do this to see if you can keep your elbows straight as you do this. So it's going to take maybe a little experimenting with how wide your hands will be apart. Just find that sweet spot where there's a little resistance and you're sensing the victory of breaking through an obstacle. Maybe bringing to mind what obstacle, what place of stagnation there is for you in your life, that you can use this physical practice to be like an affirmation of breaking through whatever place you might feel stuck or impeded. That's what I love about asana. It's really kind of an affirmation and a prayer that we bring into our body. And everything that we do physically in our practice has an effect mentally, energetically, emotionally, and spiritually. Exhale, release. And you can just place your strap on the back of the chair for a moment. And again, turn the palms up and feel all the energy, all the prana, all the aliveness in your arms, chest, shoulders, upper back. One more lovely upper body stretch here. Arms reach and rise. We're going to come into eagle arms. I'll mirror you here. You can bring your right elbow underneath your left. Turn the palms up. Both inner elbows turn up. Just slide the left hand a little bit, left elbow a little bit past the right. And come into whatever your expression of eagle arms is. It may be that wrapping the wrists is not available to you, so just bring the backs of the hands, or maybe you just want to give yourself an embrace here. Walking your fingertips toward one another behind your back body. If you can wrap the wrists, you can bring your thumbs to face toward you, or either way, your thumbs face toward you, and see if you can play with up and down movements, around in a circle, maybe bringing elbows out and wrists out. Just play with it till you feel the juiciness of it. And breathe into that place where there's tightness, where there's energy. And then unwinding the arms slowly. Let them lift to the sky, reach through the right, reach through the left. And then the left one is going to come underneath. First starting like this, letting the top one come a little past, and either backs of the hands, thumbs pointing toward you, backs of the hands touch, or pinky to thumb, or fingers to thumb, or fingers inside palm, or hug, and explore the territory here. Eagle arms. And when you're ready, after you've played with this a little bit, let it be an inquiry of where it feels strong and alive. Unwind and take any movements, any intuitive movements that feel good here as a prana response. So the prana response is after we do a particular posture, a particular stretch, your body is going to intuitively know what it needs to do to balance that out and invite the life force to flow where it needs to flow. So maybe some circles, maybe some wiggling. Just intuitively feel what would feel like a good response to that stretch. And then I'm going to invite you to come down. We're going to move down the body now into the legs and do a hamstring stretch with the strap. All right, so we're going to stretch the backs of the legs here. So I invite you to take your strap and hook it around the instep of one foot. And once you do that, I'm going to invite you to straighten the leg, but walk your hands up the strap enough so that you can still stay long in the spine. I'm going to turn sideways so that you can see. I'll just turn my whole chair sideways so you can see what this looks like. You want to try to reach the foot out perpendicular to the body and keep the spine long. So you're going to be engaging your belly muscles here too. So this is a core strengthener. If the strap is too long, one of two things is going to happen. You're either going to lean back with your shoulder, and you see I've lost that kind of 90-degree angle of the body. Or you're going to want to bend the elbows and pull, which creates tension in the shoulders. So you want to find that place where your hands are close enough to your feet that you can stay upright, but not so close to your feet that you're doing this rounding of the shoulders and going into Shlumpasana. So you want your shoulders stacked over your hips, drawn down away from the ears, leading forward with the heart. And see if you can stay upright, balanced on your sit bones, pressing out through the heel, toes up, and see if you can juice it up a little bit by drawing the toes close to toward your heart. Yeah. And if you want to play with this a little bit more, you can just hold the strap with one hand, same side hand as the leg that's extended. Support yourself on the side of your chair and open out to the side a little bit. See how that feels. That's optional. But what that does is it allows the inner thigh to stretch, hip to open a little bit. So see how that feels. Remember, you don't want your strap too long so your elbows bent. You want your arms straight, but not so short that you're leaning into it. So you want a long, elegant, long spine. And then slowly drawing that leg back in, bend the knee, release the strap. Just take a moment to notice the difference between the two sides of your body. And you can try it on the other side. Hooking now you want to hook around just around the arch of the foot and see if you can find that place where you're long in the spine, shoulders stacked over hips, centered on the sit bones. You're not drawing that shoulder forward on the hand that's holding the strap. You might be using both hands on the strap here to start. So your heart is drawing forward, your shoulders are drawing down and back. Almost like the shoulder blades, the scapulae, are going to slide down the back body into your back pocket. And this might be a strong stretch on the back of the leg. So if you need to keep your knee bent a little bit on that extended leg, that's okay. You want to flex the foot so the toes point up and even draw back toward you. And if it feels available to you to open out to the side, you can hold on with the opposite hand to your chair. Open out to the side. Feel that lovely stretch in the inner thigh. Again, if you need a little bend in your knees, that's okay. Breathe and enjoy. Slowly bring the strap in front of you. And slide the hand back to lengthen the strap and lower the leg. And shake out your legs. So it's nice to stretch out the hamstrings a little bit before we come into our down dog, which is also another hamstring stretch. So I'm going to invite you to come to stand, either behind your chair or beside or in front of your chair, depending on whether you want to do your downward dog as hands on the flat seat, which gives you a little bit more of a lowering of the head below the hips. Or you want to do your down dog with more of a parallel spine, flat back here. Either way, you want to try to gently rest your palms on either the seat of the chair or the back of the chair, and reach your sitting bones back. You want your feet hip-width apart. You can also feel that nice stretch in the hamstring. Maybe you need to take a little unlocking of the knee and a little bend to release some of the pressure there. Heart melts down low, sit bones spread wide. Feel that stretch through the upper back, shoulders, upper arms. Find that core lift. Draw the navel in and up toward the heart. Uddiyana Bandha. And soften the knees a little bit. Press up and come to stand behind your chair. We're going to come into a variation of the warrior pose now. And you can, if you feel like you need to hold on to the back of your chair for your warrior, you should be behind your chair. Some of you, if you have been doing this variation of down dog, maybe you can just be facing the chair in front if you feel steady there. Otherwise, be behind your chair. And so I'm going to invite you to come into the version of warrior that you're comfortable with, which could be if you step back about a leg length and you're on the ball of your foot, the front knee over the ankle. Notice how I don't want my knee behind the ankle so that the lower leg is at an angle. I want the lower leg and the front knee to be straight up and down. All right? So you can decide if it's not a whole leg length for you, you can be a little shorter, that's okay. But you don't, you want to make sure that your hips are facing straight ahead. And try to be aware if that back knee is bending and see if you can press the back knee crease away. So you can either be on the ball of your foot, or for a little more stability, bring the foot flat and turn the toes out about 45 degrees. You're going to have a little bit more stretch in that front of the psoas muscle there, the front of the hip flexor to square the hips. So there'll be a little bit different kind of challenge here. Square your shoulders to the back of the chair, just straight in front of you as you square your hips. Again, lift through the core and root the tailbone down. Now we can play with either one hand up to the sky or both hands up if you want to take the full warrior one pose. Maybe you want to play with courageous warrior, which clasps the hands and opens the heart, like in that yoga mudra. Maybe you want to play with the goddess warrior, the goddess arms here, Shakti warrior. Or maybe you want to take lotus warrior, the warrior of the unfolding the lotus of the heart, shining that jewel forth. Let that be your practice as warrior. Maybe letting the hands rise up to the crown of the head, opening in all directions. Om Mani Padme Hum. When you feel complete with your warrior exploration, see if you can step up the back foot a little bit and then walk both feet back, take another round of downward facing dog. See how it feels this time. Does it feel any different? Downward facing dog. And then rising up slowly, step the opposite foot forward and come into your expression of warrior one here, either on the ball of the back foot. Notice if you're leaning forward here and make sure that your shoulders and hips are lined up. So you've got a vertical line through your torso, through your spine, from the tailbone, the root chakra, to the crown of the head, the crown chakra, the 1,000-petaled lotus. Or bring the back foot flat and turn it out, toes out, about 45 degrees. Square your hips, root your tail, lift your crown, and come into your expression of warrior. What kind of warrior energy do you need to call in today? Maybe you need a little bit of courage. You can open the heart. you need to hold on, that's fine. So your warrior practice today will be just finding stability, finding the balance you need. Maybe you want to invite in that goddess energy, Shakti warrior, or maybe just the contemplation of of compassion, that mantra of compassion, Om Mani Padme Hum, opening the lotus, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. And stepping up, after you have explored your warrior today, stepping up, back into your mountain pose, turn the palms open, and just pause and feel what's alive in you. Now, standing behind the chair, we're going to do kind of a pose that's kind of ironically named because it's called the chair pose, but it doesn't use the chair. We've done a lot of poses where we do use the chair. The chair pose does not use the chair. Although, if you need to for a little balance and stability, you can stand behind your chair and have your fingertips on the back of your chair. What I'm going to invite you to do is to sit down in your chair. Now, you don't have to sit very deeply. You're going to come as if you're about to sit on your chair. See if you can bring your butt down as maybe a little bit higher or as low as your knees. Doesn't have to go that low, could go just a little bit. What you don't want to do is lean forward. What some people do when they come into chair poses, they do this, which is, you don't have to do it yet, just watch me first. They do this, which is kind of a compensation, sticking out the butt. Think about how you really sit in a chair. When you really sit in a chair, you sit with your shoulders over your hips. And you don't sit like this in a chair. So think about that invisible chair really being there. Your feet are going to be about hip width apart, toes straight ahead. You're going to bring your weight a little bit more into the heels to balance your center of gravity. So coming down, just very lightly holding onto the chair, not gripping the chair, not bearing weight on the chair, just for balance. And then inhale up to center. Exhale, sit down in your chair, bring your weight into your heels a little more, but your feet are still connected. Heart is open, and come back up, inhale. Exhale, you're going to feel this in your legs. This builds a little bit of fire. Inhale up to center, just flowing with breath a few more times. Pulsing. If you feel like your balance is steady, you can bring your hands on your hips, or you can bring your hands to the heart. And the next one, I'm going to invite you to hold for a few breaths. And maybe if you have your balance, you can bring that hands to the lotus mudra. Get that ujjayi breath going. That helps you hold the difficult poses. Open the lotus. Let it rise up. Open it in all directions. And bring it back. And then slowly rising up. If you need to hold on, that's okay. Enjoy the energy in the legs. Ooh, feel that heat? Ah, yeah. That's a strong practice on the legs. So we'll shake out. Come to stand behind your chair. Hold on with one hand onto the chair and shake out the opposite leg. And then you can shake out the other leg, holding onto the chair for balance. And if you really want a challenging practice, you can shake out both legs at the same time. No, don't. I was just teasing. All right, so come to stand for a moment in your mountain pose beside your chair, whatever side of the chair that you're on. And we're going to come into a balance practice, the tree pose, one of my favorites. So just a gentle tip of the finger on the chair, always starting any balance practice with mountain pose. Hips under shoulders, knees in line with the hip pointers, toes straight ahead, tailbone roots down, crown lifts to the sky. So in mountain pose, we're finding that polarity between the support of the earth and the expansiveness of the sky. and finding ourselves as the bridge between it. I just need to check something with the sound here. Okay. To come into your tree pose, the leg that's on the outside, away from the chair, would come into your expression of tree, either sole of the foot inside the thigh or inside the calf, or if you need to be toes on the earth, into the sapling pose, making sure that the knee draws straight out to the side so you enjoy that hip opener. So whatever expression of tree feels available to you, you can play with that. You can make the sound of one hand clapping or both hands in prayer. And if you have your balance to keep both hands off of the chair, maybe you want to take that sequence of opening your lotus, letting it rise up to the crown of the head. Optional, all optional. Maybe you could do it with one hand. That's fine, because it all balances out when you do it on the other side. Anytime we practice a balance pose like this, you're going to send your gaze on the floor in front of you, about 6 or 8 feet. Softness around the eyes and the forehead and the jaw. And when you're ready to release, slowly place that foot down. Notice the difference between the two sides of your lower body. And come to the other side. And we'll take that same sequence on the other side. One of the things you can do if you're doing the sapling pose is you could place a block so that you get a little sense of the foot being lifted off the earth. So that's another option here. So find your access to your tree pose. Nice wide open hip. And one of the ways that you lengthen through the low back is by drawing the pubic bone forward a little bit. So if I turn sideways, you can see that often the tailbone wants to tilt back and the low belly jut forward. You want to correct for that by rooting the tail down, and the pubic bone brings forward, and that lengthens through the low back. So the difference between this and this. See if you can feel that in your body. And find the mudras of your hands that are available to you, either the one hand clapping, or we can call it the half lotus flower, balancing out whatever you did on the other side, or maybe both hands are available to you to open. Let your lotus blossom open in all directions, 1,000 petals as wide as the world, and hands return to the heart. Om Mani Padme Hum. Behold the jewel in the lotus, the jewel that is my true nature. Okay. And when you're ready, release and find your stability. Both feet on the earth. Find the balance practice of samastiti, or equal balance. Okay, I'd like to do one more pose using the chair before we go down onto the mat. And this is called camel pose. The camel is a deep back bend. It opens the whole chest, blossoms open the heart, stretches the whole front of the torso, also opens the throat if you choose to do the head going back. The head going back is not necessarily appropriate for everybody. If you have any disc issues or degeneration in the cervical spine, in your neck. So I'm going to show you a way to modify for that. And you'll need to take your blanket, an extra blanket, and you may choose to do this or not use, or not let the head go back at all. But what I'm doing is I'm taking the blanket and I'm folding it in half the long way. It's hard to get the whole thing on my screen here. Let's see. I'm folding it in half the long way, and then folding it again in half the long way. So it makes kind of a long scarf. But even one more time, I'm going to invite you to fold it the long way. And if this feels like too much to mess with right now, that's okay. It'll be on the video and you can do it on your own when you have a little bit more time. But you see, I've made like a stole, a long stole. And my headset is a little bit in the way. But you're going to put your stole on and then cross your heart, nice and snug. So give it a nice little pull. So what you'll notice is that your blanket, especially if it's a thick blanket, is supporting the back of the neck. It kind of makes it like those things that you take on the plane, those neck cushions, that gives you some support for your neck. And I want to invite you to watch me first, not do this while I'm explaining it, so that you can keep your gaze straight ahead. So I'm going to come to the very front of my seat and bring my hands. Let's just start. What I want to do is start by bringing the hands to your low back, framing your sacrum or area here, fingers pointing down, pressing the palms into the low back. Elbows, you notice your elbows might be pointing out to the side, so try to draw the elbows straight back. So we can do this together, this part, before you come into the full camel. Point your elbows back behind you as far as you can. You're going to feel your shoulder blades coming toward one another. At the same time, you're going to lift up, lift the lower ribs away from the pelvis. So you're lifting up, and you're going to feel the heart expand here as your elbows point straight back. And then relax the arms for a moment. And then again, deep breath in, lengthening up, rooting the tail down, the crown up. Open the heart by pointing the elbows back, so you can just feel the spreading in the chest. That might be enough for you. Just doing that. Let's do that one more time. Squeeze the shoulder blades like they want to kiss one another, expanding open in the heart. And then release. Now watch me first before you try this on your own. The next step would be to bring the hands down, palms down to the chair. You can try to draw your fingers to face back behind you, or you could use fists. But you want to walk your hands as close together as they'll go, so that the upper arms are rolling open, and you're drawing the shoulder blades again close together. So if your hands are too far out to the side, you're not going to get that squeezing together of the shoulder blades and the expanding of the heart. And then from here, you can either palms flat or on fists, arch back, open the heart, let it expand open like that blossoming lotus. You lift the chin to open the throat, and let the head come back supported by your blanket. If that's not comfortable for your head, you can just keep your head straight up and not do the head part. If you're opening your throat, take a deep breath in, if your head's going back, and stick out your tongue and go, What that does with an exhale through the mouth is it clears out the throat chakra, the center of self-expression and communication. We get a lot of blockages. And again, big breath in. And slowly straighten the spine, come up, release the hands. And just sit upright for a minute and notice how you feel before we take the traditional counter pose or complementary pose to that. You can take your blanket, stole off. That one was called the camel. Nice, beautiful heart opener, front body stretch, throat opener. Now we're going to do the opposite movement. I'm going to invite you to bring your hands onto your thighs, fingers pointed inward toward one another. Going to press onto the thighs and drop the chin to the chest. Press into the thighs. Press the center of the back to the chair behind you. So you're rounding the spine. Now you're bringing it into flexion. As you press the chin to the top of the chest, press the hands into the thighs. And just let the head hang down to expand through the back of the neck, lengthen through the back of the neck. and round the upper back. See if you can widen that space between the shoulder blades. Draw the fronts of the shoulders forward. Press your elbows out to the side. Draw your navel in and up. Complete exhale here. And then pressing into the thighs, come back up. That one was called the rabbit pose. Well, that's actually a variation, a chair variation of the rabbit pose. All right, everyone. Everyone doing okay? You still with me? Give me a thumbs up if you're still alive. All right? Okay, beautiful. I'm going to give you a moment to come down onto your mat into a seated position, same way we started last time, which is the posture called Dandasana. I'm going to move my chair out of the way. So on your mat or blanket, fold it on the floor, and what you might find is easier to maintain this L shape in the body, long spine, rather than going into a slouchy posture, is to take one fold of a blanket right underneath the sitting bones, right at the sitting at the very front edge of that blanket fold, which invites the pelvis to tilt forward a little. That helps the low back stay long. So if that's useful for you, you can do that. What you're also going to need is a strap, and if you have a block, you can do this without the block, but if you have a block, I'm going to invite you to use that. So first, really find the steady and comfortable power of Dandasana, the staff pose. This is just like mountain, only you have a fold in the crease of the hips. As you can see, my shoulders are stacked over my hips. I'm not finding that rounded upper back. The back of the neck is long, the head is beautifully balanced, and the center of the shoulders, not going forward or cocking to the side. And my knees are lined up with those two pointer bones, those protrusions, the as-is bones in front of the pelvis. I'm going to flex the foot and press out through my heels and to stretch the bottoms of the feet and energize the legs a little bit. Dandasana. I'm also going to draw the shoulders down away from the ears and draw them back a little bit so that the heart is open. And then from here, I'm going to invite you to take your block and place it between your ankles. Try to place it so that the short edge of the block, you're going to have the block going in the second setting. So this is, at Kripalu, one of the things I learned about using the blocks, very important, 3 settings: baby bear, mama bear, and papa bear. Okay? Baby bear, mama bear, papa bear. We're going to do mama bear. All right? So that your feet are going to go in between the large sides of the block. And you want the short edge of the block, the end of the block, to line up with your feet, so don't have it sticking out too far. Then you're going to take your strap and place it around the feet. And again, the same principle applies here that we did when we did that one leg at a time stretch. Okay? So you don't want your strap too long. You don't want to lean back. You don't want to bend your elbows and have all that extra stress in your upper arms and shoulders. You want to lock your hands as far forward as they will go so that you feel the nice stretch in the backs of the legs, but you can still stay upright. So it's kind of like the strap is an extension of your fingertips. So see if you can feel that elegant, lifted L shape. Let the core, find that core lift, navel in and up. Shoulders draw back. You're leading with the heart. Big breath in. Then we're going to take a little forward fold so you can pull on the strap. You might need to walk your hands up or make a little roll your hands around the strap. Your elbows might bend a little bit here, but you don't want to be pulling them back. Or you can walk your hands up further. You want to find the place where you find your edge in this forward bend. If there's any pain, just back off. But what you want to do is lengthen up on the inhale so you find that arrow-like quality from root to crown, and exhale, fold forward, leading with the heart. Back of the neck long, so a little tuck in the chin. So you don't want to be doing this, letting the chin jut out and having a kink in the back of the neck. Just tuck your chin in a little so your back of your neck is part of that long line of the spine. Now there's a pulse here that happens in this forward fold. So you want the inhale, you're going to back off from the forward fold and just imagine that long arrow-like quality, length from your tailbone to the crown of your head, and draw the shoulders back, lead with the heart, and exhale, fold. If you need to lift the knees slightly to get a little bit more range of motion, a little more fold, you can do that if you have very tight hamstrings. So find that pulse. Inhale, back off and lengthen. Exhale, fold, leading with the heart. And you're not pushing into anything here. You're not trying to force anything or plow through it. You're just letting your exhale invite a melting into this forward bend. And as far forward as you go is exactly where you're supposed to be. Maybe it'll be only here. Maybe it'll be only a few inches or a half an inch. Find your edge and play with that, dance with that, breathe with that. Respect that. Celebrate that. Because with each breath that you fold forward and meet your edge, you are inviting prana to flow where it's needed. Stretches the backs of the legs, stretches the low back, lengthens through the spine. You're always practicing leading with your heart, which is a practice you can take off of the mat. So it's not about necessarily bringing your head all the way down. That may be true for some people, but it is not necessary. You're just inviting to dance with the stretch. And when you're ready to back off, slowly sit back up. Release your strap, release your block. Take the blanket from underneath you. And we invite you to slowly come down onto your mat, hug your thighs in toward your chest, and rock side to side. Just give yourself that embrace, folding your legs, thighs in toward your belly, wrapping your arms around your legs, or maybe hands on shins, or wherever you can access, and just give yourself that hug and a little gentle rocking like a baby. And then you can bring your hands onto your knees and just invite some circling of the thigh bone in the hip joint. So opening the hips nice and wide. Open wide to stir the hips, then bring in the inner thighs together. Press them away, open wide. Stirring your hip with the end of your thigh bone, the head of the thigh bone. Nice and wide. You should feel a nice inner thigh stretch as you do that. And then you can try circling the other way. And then hug the thighs in one more time. Clasp your hands around your right thigh, extend your left leg, coming into wind relieving pose. If you want to take it into a little core strengthening here, you can lift that left leg off of the mat about a foot, let it hover. Exhale, chin to chest. You can hold here with your hands around your bent leg, or you can release. Palms turn up, receiving grace. If this feels like a strain for your neck or your abs, you can lower the head and shoulders down. Maybe just keep that left leg lifted. So you're getting a little bit of lower abdominal strengthening on that left side. And release. And we'll take it into a figure 4 on this side before we do wind relieving on the other side. So turn your right knee out to the right and then draw the left thigh to come up and meet the right lower leg above the ankle. Reach your hands to clasp behind your thigh so the right hand threads through the space between your legs, or clasp your hands around your shin. Right elbow presses into right thigh, drawing left thigh in, pressing right thigh away. Head and shoulders relax into the mat. Figure 4, supine pigeon. Lots of breath. Send your breath where it's tight. Breathe and enjoy. And releasing. Take a moment of letting your body melt into Shavasana for a moment before doing the other side. Just notice what's alive. And you can hug your left thigh in wind relieving pose so the thigh comes into toward the ribs on the left side. And you can lift the right leg to hover off of the mat, pointing your toes away from you. Chin to chest, exhale. Head and shoulders roll up. I have a visitor here I wasn't expecting. If you want to release your hands, turn your palms to the sky in the pose of receiving grace, flowing down. Ujjayi breath. And when you're ready to release, you can come right into your figure 4 pose. Now the left knee is turned out to the left, and you're going to invite the right thigh to draw in toward the right rib cage, and left thigh presses away as that hip rotates open. Maybe use your left elbow inside your thigh. Soften the head and shoulders into the mat. Breathe and enjoy. Releasing the figure 4 action. I'm going to invite you to come into a reclining twist. And here, it often is helpful to take either a block, a pillow, or a rolled up blanket on one side of you. So I'm going to lie down on my back, and I have my blanket just in line with my hip on my left side. I'm going to bend the right knee in, hug it in wind relieving pose, just like you did. So I'm just hugging the thigh in toward the ribs. But then we're going to place the foot, the sole of the foot, on top of the thigh or knee of the left leg. So your left leg is extended, and your right knee is bent, and you're placing your foot on top of your left thigh or knee. Take the left hand and invite that right knee to come all the way down to the left side of the body. So you're coming into a spinal twist, and you're going to reach your right hand out to shoulder height T position, out to the side. Reach those fingers long and away, and maybe walking your shoulders a little bit over toward the left so that they line up with your hips, and turn your gaze to face your right hand. Melt the back of the right shoulder into the mat. And the blanket is just a place where you can support your knee if it doesn't want to come all the way down to the mat. So your heart faces the sky, the back of the right shoulder softens into the mat. You're looking at your right hand. Your left hand, which is on your bent knee, is just inviting that knee to come down toward that support blanket or cushion or your mat. And take 2 more long, slow, deep breaths. No forcing here. Just let the shape of the pose give you the benefit. Just letting yourself soften into it. And then when you're ready, you can transition back to Shavasana to take that twist on the other side. So now the left knee bends. Hug it in toward your rib cage. Bring your blanket or pillow or support to the other side, just around your hip, beside your hip. Place the foot on top of the extended leg, left foot on top of right thigh or knee. And take the right hand and invite that knee to come down. So your your left hip is going to turn up toward the sky. Your left hand reaches out at shoulder height. Turn your head to look at your left fingers. Maybe walk your shoulders a couple of inches over toward the right so that they're in line with the hips, and soften the left shoulder down into the mat. It may not go all the way. Breathe deeply and enjoy. When you're ready to release the twist on this side, let your body relax and release into Shavasana. If you need a blanket over you or a bolster under your knees, take a moment to let yourself soften into that. Let your palms turn up, once again in that receptive gesture. And let each exhale invite the body to soften into the mat. I'm going to offer you these words from very ancient scripture, the Upanishads from India, that speaks about that lotus of the heart. And one of the words that they use for God, for the infinite, is Brahman. Brahman. It's the unmanifest form of God. That wide expanse of possibility before anything takes form. In the center of the castle of Brahman, our own body, there is a small shrine in the form of a lotus flower. And within can be found a small space. We should find what dwells there. And we should want to know that. And if anyone asks, what is it that dwells in a small shrine in the form of a lotus flower in the center of the castle of Brahman, which is you? We can answer, the little space within the heart is as great as this universe. The heavens and the earth are there. The sun, the moon, the stars, the fire and lightning and winds. For the whole universe is in that. And that dwells within our heart. In the center of the castle of Brahman, which is our own being, our own body, there is a small shrine in the form of a lotus flower. And within it can be found a small space. And we should know that which dwells there. Slowly begin to deepen your breath. Find some movement of the fingers and toes. Any movements that bring you back into present moment awareness. And in your own time, roll over onto your side. Take your time, finding your way up into a seated pose. Whether you get up back on your chair or gentle cross-legged, perhaps sitting on a cushion or a blanket. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Bring your hands once again to the lotus bud mudra. Let the three middle fingers open, allowing that lotus to blossom open, revealing that radiant jewel. The jewel of your own true nature. It's brighter than the brightest star, more precious than the most valuable diamond. Let the lotus rise up out of the muck of our forgetting of who we are. To the crown of the head, our gateway to the infinite. Let it blossom open, 1,000 petals as wide as the world. May all beings everywhere live in the remembrance of our true nature. Let that lotus blossom return to the heart in the form of a bud and take a little bow. And let's once again close our practice with those mudras and the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum. At the heart, lotus bud. Om Mani Padme Hum. Open. Om Mani Padme Hum. Rise up. Om Mani Padme Hum. Open your petals. Mani Padme Hum. Om 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 Mani Padme Hum. May each and every one of us live into the discovery of our own radiance, that jewel that lives within each and every one of our hearts. And it's my hope that our yoga practice can be a way to open those petals of the lotus for each and every one of you. It has been such a great and a joy and an honor to share this practice with you. Let's close our practice with the sound of Om. Deep breath in. Namaste. And so if anyone wants to